consultant, where she coaches producers, production companies, and as well as talents through the creative process of preparing their projects for the pitch phrase. Without further ado, Stacey, welcome to the conference.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey guys. Hey Art. Hey everyone. Good to be here.
How are you doing, first off?
I'm doing good. I'm in sunny Los Angeles. We've been having some really nice weather. It actually just cooled down just a little bit, so it's in like the 60s. So it's been nice to have nice weather during the pandemic. I'll tell you that. It's always good to go out for a little fresh air and a little walk to just, remind ourselves that, or remind myself that I'm normal.
That's good. I'm glad you're using that time to reflect and I guess take care of yourself because that's what I was assuming going out for a walk and
Absolutely. It's definitely part of the self-care routine.
I like it. All right, so we're talking about accountability today, Stacey. And so I want to ask you, um, uh, when we talk about accountability to the work field, like how important is that?
I would say it's really important, especially in the entertainment industry. And I'll say that because it's a very what I call sexy industry. It's competitive, it's very influential, it's hard to get into, and a lot of people have big dreams to get into it. They'll pick up in the middle of the country and move to LA or move to New York to go after a dream, and so there's so much that people put on the line to be able to get their foot in the door, whether it be acting or producing or writing or being an executive like myself. It's kind of a tough waters to navigate. And I think what happens sometimes is when you're entering a field that feels cutthroat at times, that feels super competitive or hard to get into, you may feel like you have to do certain things to compromise yourself or your values in order to get your foot in the door. And I'm just a firm believer that you don't have to do that. I think being accountable is knowing who you are from the outset, knowing what your values are. Your values as a person are the same as your values as a professional. Me, for example, my values are love and excellence. So everywhere I go, I want to approach my work with detail, with love. I want to be excellent at it. I want to make a hit show. I want the people that I work with to have a good experience working with me, to feel like it was a collaborative process. So in that example, I would never want to work for a company where I feel like that's hindered or that's not welcome or that it's just at odds with my values. So I think it's just something where we always need to be thinking about, like, who am I? What is my goal? What is my mission? And wherever I go, do I feel like the other people there or that company or that space is lined up with that? And if it's not, I need to make a change. So I really think that it's important, particularly in an industry like this, where you feel like you might have to make a desperate choice.
Mhm.
But I firmly believe that you don't have to do that.
Yeah, do you think people are accepting more of you, or if you are that person who relies on their principles and their values, you think that have you found that to be easier, I guess, working with people?
Yeah, I think so. I think that I'd say I've built a pretty good reputation in my industry. And I've made a lot of friends along the way that have helped me, that I've had good conversations with about, not only work, but also about life. And I've just tried to be really authentic about who I am and the things that I want and the times when I've been unhappy, the times when I've been excited about my work and things like that. And I think that people really value openness and honesty on both the personal and professional front. And I feel like because of that, I've gained a lot of relationships that I value out of my professional life.
Yeah. I know it couldn't have been easy, right? It has to be like a tough thing to kind of remain who you are amongst, like you said, an industry where it's so easy to compromise, all your values. So like what was some of the most difficult things or thing that you had to overcome, and just how were you able to do that?
Oh, wow. Well, there have been a few instances. One thing I remember 10 years ago, or maybe it was 9 years ago, but I had just been laid off of a company. I was working at Cartoon Network at the time. I have always worked in unscripted, and they were no longer doing unscripted. They just wanted to stick to cartoons. And I had been doing sort of junior level executive work, even though I was an assistant. And I really felt like I wanted to go look for a junior executive job. And I felt like I was ready. And I actually had someone in my life who is still a mentor to me, but I feel like this was one advice that I wouldn't have taken. He was just like, you don't need to worry about the position. You just need to get in at a good company that's reputable. You just need to do this. You just need to do that. Even though at that time I really believed in myself that I could do more, I ended up not waiting for that junior executive job, and I took another assistant position. And
Yeah.
it turned out that that job, I learned a lot, but it was so stressful. It was super far away from my house. I was commuting long hours every day. It was super demanding. No one took lunch breaks. I felt like a kid. I felt like it wasn't really a step in the right direction. It just wasn't the most. Oh, I just lost an earring. I'll take the other one off. I just felt like it was just kind of a toxic environment. And I always look back to that because I wish that I would have waited, and I just took something because I felt like, oh, well, this feels like a big company and I'm working for someone really big, high up at the company. And it just didn't feel right. And, I made a decision out of fear, out of what other people thought, and not on what I believed that I could get. And there were consequences for that. And it was a really challenging year and a half of my life. I ended up eventually quitting that job and getting my dream job 6 months after.
Mhm.
But I just always remember that time. And I always tell people, I was like, don't make decisions out of fear. Like, just wait a little while longer for something that you feel is right. Because if you make decisions that you don't have peace about, there will be consequences. It might not ruin your life. It won't ruin your life. It won't ruin your career, but it might make for not the best time.
Do we know that? Like, I feel like that might be hard in the moment, right? Because when you see a company that's big, a part of you wants to be a part of that, even if you know deep down that maybe that's not the right path that you want to be heading towards. So how do we know that? How do we get to that sense of knowing?
It's a really great question, Art. I think there's a few things that we do. I think that you talk to your friends, your trusted friends that know you and know what your dreams are and know what you've been working toward. And if there is, maybe a senior person in your company or in your field that you could talk to about the decision. Sometimes it's journaling. Like, how am I feeling about this? I really wanted this. Here's this opportunity. I could get these things from it, but then on the other hand, these things. I think I think you need to take your time. Like, don't feel like you have to make a decision right away. Even if they say we need to know today, you can say I need to wait until tomorrow. You can talk to that friend. You can talk to that mentor. You can take that time to be quiet and just really, like, weigh the pros and cons. And if there are cons, are you okay with it? Like, can you deal with that for a certain period of time? Or are the pros enough? So I would just say take a little bit of time to just make sure you feel that peace, and you're not just doing it because you think it looks good. Or, I mean, if it's your dream company, then it's your dream company. I'm not saying don't take a job at a big company if it's there, but just make sure that you feel like it's right for you.
Yeah. So we have a question here from one of the students, and they want to know, what is the best way to deal with a person who never takes blame for anything?
Ooh, great
Oh, saw that wrong.
question. That never takes blame for anything. Well, it's tricky because, in the workplace, you're gonna you're gonna work with all kinds of people. I'm not sure if that person would be your colleague or your boss or someone under you. I think that's when you really have to kind of focus in on the things in your work that you can control. So instead of worrying about that person who's maybe not carrying their weight or whatever it is, I think you just have to narrow in on what you're doing and making sure that you don't drop the ball, and making sure that no one has anything to say about your work, and that you can always stand up for what you're doing, and that you're proud of the work that you're doing, because ultimately you can't really control them. You can't, they're on their own journey, and who knows what's going on in their character or their life that they can't face that.
Yeah.
But I think that's when you just focus in on you, because you can't ever really control your colleagues. You're going to work with, a lot of interesting people over the course of your life, and you just got to focus on your work sometimes.
Yeah. I think it's difficult dealing with different personalities, especially if you're not, or people are not letting you into their space. And
Right. And
like,
it's like, if they have a wall up, then, if you can't knock it down, then move on to another wall.
ooh, I like that.
Hmm.
I like that. All right. So our last question, obviously the dream is in your hands. What does that mean for you?
Oh, wow. I think it means that anything that you dream is possible. The information that you don't know is out there. Like, I've recently left my job at Nickelodeon, and I have pursued a career as an entrepreneur and as a consultant. And I'd never been an entrepreneur before. I had never thought that I could be. But I just decided to go for it. But I've reached out to other friends who've done it. I've read articles. I did an online seminar. There's all these different people that I'm learning from. Even after this, I'm listening to a webinar about a woman that helps other entrepreneurs. And so it's like, even though there's things out there that you haven't done before, that seems scary, there's people out there, there's resources out there to help you. And so you just need to take it one step at a time. I'm also a person of faith, and I pray to God, and I really rely on God's power and provision in my life. And so I think that it's a combination of both. It's having faith, believing in yourself, but also just taking one step at a time, and getting the information, asking for help. Right? Don't be afraid to ask for help. People out there want to help you reach their dreams, and it's important that you go after your dreams so that you can inspire other people.
Wow.
Your dream is never just about you. People need to see people thriving so that they believe that they can do it too. So that's what that means to me.
That's a great answer. Thank you. We needed to hear that. All right, Stacey. Can you just tell everyone where we can find you on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, all
Oh,
that?
yeah. So my on LinkedIn, I'm just Stacey Carr, and that's Stacey with an EY. So Stacey, last name Carr, Carr. I'm also on Instagram with Stacey and Carr together. So it's star with two R's, 323, which is an LA area code. And then on Twitter, I'm Stacey Carr 30. I know they should all be lined up, but I'm mostly LinkedIn and Instagram are probably the best ones.
All right. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you for
Sure.
joining us. Everyone else, make sure you uh, follow on Create the Dream Co, and make sure you follow the hashtag Dream Conference 2021. Thank you again, Stacey.
Sure. Thanks, Art. Take care, guys.
Bye.